Today we're going to do a little self-compassion break based on a meditation by Kristen Neff, who has researched into self-compassion a lot. And so I'll give a little background to that as we go into it. So let's start as we normally do with just a few minutes of quiet meditation, working with the breath to settle the mind somewhat, also to develop our focus so we can do this meditation very effectively. Okay, so again, there are many ways to work with the breath. If you have a technique that you already use, you can do that for the next few minutes. If you need a suggestion, you can tune into the sensation around the nostrils where you feel the air coming in and out and make that your focal point. But in any meditation that we're doing, if we see that the mind has wandered away from the object of meditation, we just gently guide it back. Again, we don't have to be uh, judgmental or harsh on ourselves when that happens. We just simply acknowledge that we've lost the object and return back to it. So I'll ring the bell to begin the meditation period. So now, before we begin this meditation on self-compassion, let's generate a good motivation for doing this, and to recall that this path is one of opening ourselves to greater and greater compassion for all beings. This is the ideal, where we want to be, and eventually develop that compassion into the state of Buddhahood, where we will work for the benefit of others completely and perfectly. We have to start where we are now. We have to begin with compassion for ourselves. So do this meditation today with the aim of being able to enhance and develop your own compassion to the greatest degree by learning how to very skillfully generate self-compassion to begin with oneself, so we then can know what it's like to truly be compassionate to others. So before we begin a more specific meditation, I want you first to simply reflect upon an incident where someone has come to you, a dear friend, and they've had a difficulty, a problem. And what is the language you use in consoling them, talking to them? What are the ways that you frame things for them so that they feel your concern, your compassion? And just take a moment to get in touch with that in terms of how you do that for others. And then recall times when you yourself are struggling, when you feel bad about yourself or you're having a difficulty. How do you typically respond to yourself in these situations? What's the self-language you use? Note even the tone in which you talk to yourself. Just spend a minute or so investigating that. And having looked at how we react to others, respond to them in their pain, their difficulty, how we speak to ourselves when we're going through a hard time, Is there a difference? And if we see a difference between how we treat others and how we treat ourselves, what factors might be playing a role in that? And how do you think things might change if you actually responded to yourself in the way that you respond to others, treated yourself with equal concern and compassion that you do when others are going through difficult times? Just reflect on that for a moment. So now let's try this experiment with generating self-compassion so we can learn how to be kinder to ourselves. And what I'd like you to do to begin is to choose a real life situation that's going on for you right now. You don't have to choose something that's a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of difficulty. Choose something you're comfortable working with, whatever that might be. And if there are a number of things going on in your life right now that are stressful, difficult, just simply choose one of them to work with in this meditation. And then hopefully you've chosen something to work with. As you recall this, work with this, let yourself run away with the storyline, recalling, what's happening, if there are other people involved, what they said or did. See if you can feel even the stress and the tension in your body to some degree. Everything that comes up around this situation that you're working with. So take a moment to do that, to really get in touch with what you're feeling in regard to that specific life situation that you're going through. So now, as you continue to think about the situation, getting in touch with some of the stress around it, we're going to go through 3 different steps that will help us to generate the best compassion towards ourselves. The first is to acknowledge that this is a moment of suffering. trying to bring mindful awareness to the fact that this is really hard right now. And use whatever language works for you to remind yourself, to validate that this is difficult, this is hard, this is stressful. And whatever language works for you, but just embrace this reality of suffering for you at this time. And spend a few minutes with this. And then we go on to the second step, which is to remember that suffering is a part of life. It's not abnormal to suffer. Suffering is part of being alive. Here you can use words that speak to you, saying things like, I'm not alone in my suffering. This is a part of our shared humanity. Whatever gives you some feeling of the interconnectedness, to think that we're all in this together, that there are others who experience suffering as well. So it's not abnormal to suffer. This is part of our life experience. And sit with that thought and remind yourself of that in whatever words work for you for the next few minutes. So now, having acknowledged our own suffering as what it is, this painful experience we're going through, having connected with this being part of our shared humanity, let's actually generate compassionate thoughts towards ourselves within that understanding. And here you might even engage in some gesture that shows self-compassion. You could put your hand at your heart, just kind of holding yourself in that way, or even hug yourself, whatever it is that feels appropriate for you. And begin to use language towards yourself that express how kind you want to be right now to yourself in the suffering that you're experiencing. Even that thought, may I be kind to myself in this moment. May I have freedom from this suffering. I'm so sorry that I'm suffering. Again, you can use second person language if you wish, as if you were hearing these words from someone else, saying, I care about you. I'm sorry that you're going through this. I'm sorry that you're having to experience it. And use whatever language works for you, but try to really embrace yourself in thoughts of gentleness, kindness, compassion. If you're having any difficulty finding language to use, just imagine that you had a friend who was going through what you're now going through. And how would you speak to them? What would you say to your friend? And then simply say the same words in the same tone to yourself. And then let go of the practice and just simply be grateful that you've taken this opportunity to express compassion towards yourself in this way. And recall that at any time we can take a self-compassion break. Anytime we're feeling stress, loneliness, anxiety, when we're feeling hurt, depressed, we can pause and reflect on acknowledging our suffering, seeing it as part of our shared humanity, and then being kind and gentle to ourselves. Kind of make a determination, if you can, to practice in this way, so we can eventually learn to be compassionate towards all beings. And let's dedicate all the positive potential we've created through this meditation to be able to advance our compassion for ourselves as well as for all sentient beings, and to attain the greatest possible state of being able to benefit all beings. And let's recall the kindness of our amazing teachers, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, all the other teachers that we and others have karmic connections with. May they all have good health and long lives, and may we and others continue to benefit from their presence in this world. Then lastly, dedicate for all those beings who you are holding in your heart right now, who are going through challenges, difficulties, just as we are. Think about them and their pain, their suffering, and send this positive energy out to them as well. Because of our connection to them, it's very important that we express our desire that they not suffer, and also that they find everything that will bring them true peace and happiness. And may this be so for all beings through what we've done here this morning. Wonderful. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed that. And again, feel free to use it at will. There's even a website that Kristen Neff has. I think it's self-compassion with a hyphen in there, .org. And you can find the self-compassion break there if you want to print that out. Okay, everyone, be well, stay safe.